Hey, how's it going everyone? I hope you're all doing well. So back again today with another video and finally with a long-awaited collection update. So these are some CDs which I bought when I was in Australia recently. So just looking around town and various places I visited, there was some second-hand CD shops. So these are all second-hand today, but ultimately it's the music that counts. So yes, just 3 CDs to talk about today because I don't want to make these videos too long, but there are other collection updates and I'm just putting them in categories, so to speak. So, God, I always talk with my hands. Sorry about that. See, I'm even doing it now. I'm aware of it. Anyway, let's get started. So the theme for today's video is that it's all Scandinavian extreme metal. So immediately you will know if this video is for you or not. And I think for most of you, this is the kind of stuff you want to see and hear about. So hopefully that's good. But we've got some death metal and black metal. So without further ado, we'll get started. So first of all, I picked up Bloodbath with Resurrection Through Carnage, and I'll just take this out of the case to prevent the glare. So not the most colourful cover there. I'm not sure if this is the original one actually, because I used to own this many years ago, but yes, I didn't anymore. It's a long story, but I'm really glad to have bought this one back because it's a fantastic release. So if you're not familiar, Bloodbath are one of the sort of most famous and reputable death metal bands from Sweden, and they sort of came from a sort of more modern era because, of course, you know, the traditional old guard bands of Sweden were like Dismember, Entombed, stuff like that, Eucharist, you know, like all those bands from the early 90s, Necrophobic to a degree. And then this band started out actually in 2000 as sort of a cover supergroup tribute band, you know, featuring members of Catatonia and Opeth, and yeah, we'll go into the lineup later, and there's still some members from those bands, but then it became a full-time project. And so they're one of the sort of champions of the modern era of Swedish death metal, and it's actually really good. You've seen me show another one of their albums, Breeding Death. I didn't actually take that one out for this video, but you know the one. That's their debut EP, which featured 3 songs. Yeah, Breeding Death, Ominous Blood Vomit, and Furnace Funeral. But yeah, this one, I'm not sure how many albums in this is, but it's interesting because the lead vocalist used to be Michael Arkefeld from Opeth, and I think he's back with the group now. See, I haven't really done much research about this, and you can probably tell. But for this particular album, what's interesting is it featured Peter Tegtren on vocals. So Peter needs no introduction as the owner and producer of Abyss Studios and of his own bands, Hypocrisy and Pain. So he was actually lead vocalist on this album. And it's somewhat of a supergroup lineup. So who do we have? Peter Tegtren on lead vocals, Anders Nyström on guitars, bass, and backing vocals, Dan Swanö, however you say it, everyone knows him from Edge of Sanity, etc., on guitars, bass, and backing vocals, Jonas Renska from Catatonia on guitars and bass, and Martin Axenrod on drums. And I think he was in Witchery. So yeah, still a supergroup from bands like Hypocrisy, Catatonia, Edge of Sanity, Witchery, so you know it's going to be a star-studded and quality lineup, which it is. Also Martin Axenrod, what a name for a death metal musician. I'm not sure if that's real, but it's cool. But yeah, this album is absolutely fantastic, and much to your relief, I'm not going to delve into every little nuance of it because you know what to expect. But this is just extremely brutal death metal, but at the same time very razor sharp, well produced, punchy, and it's extremely catchy as well. So what more could you ask for? Bouncy, catchy, razor sharp. Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. The vocals are fantastic. The guitar solos are fantastic. It's sort of like everything that one would look for in a death metal album. You know, in terms of production, sound, the riffs, it brings all of those things, and it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I just listened to this whole album with a lot of pleasure. It's absolutely fantastic. The album kicks off with the song Cancer of the Soul, which is immediately launching into that heavy, bouncy, sort of catchy routine. And then, what's that? Yeah, track 2, Brave New Hell, very catchy chorus in that. And I like when Peter screams Massacre. It's just incredibly catchy. Track 3, Soul Evisceration, that has a fantastic, melancholic, old school death metal guitar solo. Track 4, which I'm sorry, I can't read this in this light. Let me just see. Oh God, it's even worse in the booklet, Christ. But anyway, track 4 has a kind of woozy riff, which reminds me of the Spanish death metal band Avulsed. And the actual title track, Resurrection Through Carnage. Just checking that this... No, sorry. See, I always mix the titles up. The title of this album is Nightmares Made Flesh. That title track is absolutely fantastic. It's got some keyboards and a very doomy riff. So like, yeah, old school, brutal, catchy death metal, very well produced, and it bears all those hallmarks of old school death metal. So if you just like that kind of style, but with better production, you'll absolutely love this album. So yeah, like I said, I just named a few standout tracks there, but I really enjoy the whole album. So here's the front cover. And there's the booklet with all of the lyrics, which, as I mentioned, are hard to read. I need reading glasses. And the version I used to have had a photo of the band, but yeah, you all know the members. But yeah, very, very good release. I've got to replace this cracked case, but nothing more to say. If you like brutal old school death metal, which is well produced, you will love this, and I highly recommend it. So, sorry, speaking too quickly. So this is Bloodbath with Nightmares Made Flesh. And I apologize if I previously said Resurrection Through Carnage, which is another album of theirs. All right, so moving from Swedish death metal, now we're going to move over to Norway with what could be considered black metal, but it's not purest black metal. But anyway, this is another buyback, and I'm very happy to have it back in the collection. This is Covenant with Nexus Polaris. So I recently showed this one in Johnny Mac's 1,000 subscribers contest, but I haven't actually spoken about the album before on this channel. So as I said, this album I used to own, and I bought it when it first came out at that time, so like 1998. And yeah, and then I listened to it to death like many, many times over the years, and then for some reason in the past I ended up selling this, maybe because I had overplayed it, but that's a stupid reason. But you know, in youthful hastiness, that's what I did. But I saw this recently when I was in Tasmania and said, yeah, absolutely pick it up. And that was, some of the excitement was regenerated by the fact that this band has recently reunited. And I saw that on Instagram and social media because they had split up for a long time. So they started out as The Covenant, starting with the letter C. Then they became The Covenant with the letter K. I don't actually own that second album. But they've just done this reunion tour, and that sparked my interest. So when I saw this album, I went, yep, I'm going to get it. And if you haven't heard me mention, this is somewhat of a supergroup. So just showing you the picture here of all the members of the band. So you have Hellhammer from Mayhem on drums, Sverd or Sverd, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I know in like German it would be Sverd or Sverd on keyboards and pianos, Nagash, who was formerly of Dimmu Borgir on bass and vocals, Astanu, formerly of Dimmu Borgir and also of the Australian black metal band Lord Chaos on guitars. So Astanu is actually Australian, and Thanatos Blackheart on guitar. So somewhat of a supergroup, and for some reason they didn't picture the sixth member here, which is Sarah Jezebel Diva, who is famous as the original clean and female vocalist of Cradle of Filth. So yeah, absolute star-studded lineup, and this album absolutely delivers. So if you're not familiar with Covenant's sound, it's difficult to describe. The first album was kind of like straightforward melodic Norwegian black metal. So you can see most of the band members in this are Norwegian, with the exception of Astanu and Sarah Jezebel Diva. This album though, it's not, I know this term sounds wank, so I don't like to use it, but it's not exactly post-black metal, but it's kind of like black metal inspired metal, as in it's not purest black metal, definitely not, but it's sort of building on those symphonic and avant-garde aspects of Norwegian black metal in the late 90s. So, I mean, I hate that term avant-garde as well because it sounds a bit wanky, but you know, like with bands like Arcturus, you know, they were doing something different. This isn't quite like Arcturus, but it's, you really just have to hear it. It's basically extremely melodic, bombastic, blackened metal with a lot of keyboards as well as female vocals, a lot of pianos, and the playing is just absolutely top notch. So the vocals are kind of raspy and gurgly, but Nagash, he puts on so many different voices in this album, which are absolutely fantastic. And yeah, the common thread with this is symphony and melody. So I can understand that a lot of black metal purists would absolutely hate it, but if you give it a chance, you know, something different a chance, it's really good, because I think we have enough third-rate Dark Throne clone bands out there, so it's boring if black metal always sounds the same. So having said that, I know a lot of black metal purists would probably also hate this because some of the melodies are quite happy, but I just love it. It's an absolutely upbeat, uplifting album, dare I say. And what's interesting about it, it's quite, I'm making up my own term here, but maybe it's kind of like cosmic black metal, because as you can see from the cover, maybe the theme is all about space, but just a lot of keyboards, a lot of pianos, very melodic guitar solos, excellent riffs, and Sarah Jezebel Diva's clean vocals. They just sort of lift the melodies of the song, so very much in the style that she was doing with Cradle of Filth. Not spoken word parts, just the singing parts, but it's really, really good. I absolutely love this, and I have to say, because I bought this in 1998, when I play this album, it just immediately takes me back to that time. So like where I was living, you know, the job I was working in, where I was studying. It's just total 1998 nostalgia, and other bands that I was listening to a lot at that time were Cradle of Filth and Old Man's Child, in addition to the more sort of old school stuff, but 1998 was very much that era for these kinds of bands, and it's cool. Yeah, so going into the tracks here, like the opening track, The Sulphur Feast, I remember when I first played this in the shop in 1998, when I heard the first 30 seconds, I went, yep, I absolutely have to buy this album. Like, the vocals are just really gurgly, the keyboards are mystical, and there's this part where Nagash shouts in that song, like it's this kind of declaration with the melodic guitars and keyboards, but it sounds so absolutely euphoric, so I absolutely love it. It's like an eargasm, that part of the song, so that's really good. Bizarre Cosmic Industries is another very good song. Now, at this point, I'll say, I know why a lot of bands might think, people might think this band is sort of like, how to describe it exactly, like a bit over the top, because there's, you know, piano and keyboard solos, and like they might say it sounds a little bit wanky. Yes, it is a bit flashy, but that's what makes it cool. Like the piano and keyboard solos on Bizarre Cosmic Industries by Sverd are absolutely top notch. Like, yeah, very happy melodies, and it's a bit neoclassical maybe, but like there's just so much talent. It's absolutely fantastic. Planetarium is another great track. So is Last of the Dragons. Like, by the way, this album is chock-a-block full of time changes and twists and turns, but always symphonic, melodic, and bombastic, which is really good. Another track I really like is Bringer of the Sixth Sun, especially with the guitar solos in that. Like two great guitarists in this band, so Blackheart and Astanu. Dragonheart is really good. Planetary Black Elements is an excellent song, and that's the one that features the actual album title, Nexus Polaris. Also Chariots of Thunder, fantastic riff in that, and I love the haunting vocals from Sarah, and also the keyboards to lift those melodies. So this is absolutely, I remember reading one review and they described this release as classy, and I can see the point. It's slick, it's polished, it's melodic, it's bombastic, it's fantastic. Sorry, and I didn't even intend for that to rhyme, but there you go. Remember, here we are live in the studio, everything's completely off the cuff, in case you hadn't noticed. Really cool cover art with this. I just love the rich blue color in this, so accentuating that planetary theme. Song titles on the back here. And all of the lyrics, which are nice and readable. And yeah, again, they're all about outer space and the cosmos, I think, but I should pay more attention to them. But as always, for me, like, ultimately the music is the most important thing. So just showing you the members here. So Astanu and Blackheart on guitars, Nagash on bass and vocals, Hellhammer on drums, Sverd or Sverd on keyboards and pianos, and of course Sarah Jezebel Diva on vocals. So here's the disc, absolutely awesome. I just really like the cover design on this and the color. I think it's probably one of my favorite album covers, actually, just so mystical and atmospheric. So yes, it's not purist black metal, and if you're not afraid of melody, particularly happy melodies and symphonic elements, I would give this album a go. It's absolutely great. I need to check out their second album more. I think that went in more of an industrial direction, but that sounds interesting. And rumor has it that they're working on a third album now that they've reunited. So that's really cool. In sad news, I think Astanu rejoined the band, but he's been let go as of just recently, and he's been replaced by Ghoul from Mayhem. So that's interesting. Now they have two members from Mayhem in this band as well. But yeah, it looks like the band's set to continue, so I'm looking forward to the next release. But this is absolutely fantastic. Just give it a chance if you haven't. This is Covenant with Nexus Polaris. All right. Now, coming to the final album of the day, we go back to some more, staying in Norway, but with more traditional black metal, Norwegian black metal, you can say. This is TAAKE Nattestid. Sorry, that is a terrible Norwegian accent. But the reason I said it that way is because the band is spelled TAAKE, and I know there was a lot of debate. Like, I used to think from my knowledge of German, the pronunciation was TAAKE, or some people used to say TAAKE, and I heard TAAKE. But actually, the correct pronunciation, when I looked it up on Google Translate, is TAAKE. And sorry, you know, Norwegian is a very sing-song language, even compared to Danish and Swedish. But yeah, TAAKE means fog, so that's the Norwegian word for fog. And Nattestid, or Nattestid, is the word for nighttime. Again, I apologize to all Scandinavian and particularly Norwegian viewers with my terrible accent, but I'm just trying to have fun with the pronunciation. So Nattestid means nighttime. And what you have here, it says in Norwegian, this is 7 parts, 1 to 7. So we've got 7 tracks of pure Norwegian black metal. I really like this cover of the guy in the corpse paint. And you might think from this, because it's minimalist and very black and white, oh, is this another Darkthrone clone band? And I think that would be a reasonable assumption. I used to think that was possibly the case, but in actual fact, it's not at all. And don't get me wrong, I love Darkthrone. As you know, they're one of my favorite bands, in my top 3 bands of all time, actually. But we don't need loads and loads of Darkthrone clone bands. But what you have on this album, it's traditional Norwegian black metal, so there's a lot of blast beats and the tremolo riffs, so a lot of, and the raspy vocals and the blasting drumming, so a lot of those characteristics of Norwegian black metal. But I have to say, this one, in comparison to something like Darkthrone, it's a lot bouncier and it's more melodic. So there's a lot of really sort of catchy, hooky melodies which reel you in, and the tempo changes a lot. It's very bouncy, so kind of, I'm not sure who I could say they remind me of actually, like maybe aspects of certain bands, but in honesty, I think they're quite unique. Like, you know, just that kind of, maybe a bit similar to Windier in some ways, but more on the traditional black metal side. But you know, just very bouncy and catchy and melodic, but it's still got that grim element, you know, with the harshness and the tremolo riffing, and the drums are in the background because the riffs are the most important thing, and vocals are pretty standard. But I really like it. It's just like, each song is enjoyable to listen to, and what's interesting is, although the songs don't have titles, it's just Nattestid parts 1 to 7, all of the songs stand apart musically. And just one moment, I've got to consult my notes. Okay, so yes, with my notes, because I didn't want to forget everything here, I've also noted that there are some choral vocals and some keyboards on the album, so it's not just purist guitar-oriented black metal. And there's a variety of tempos, as I said, ranging from mid-paced, sort of swing time rhythms actually, so you can really tap and swing along to them, in addition to blast beats. And there are even some clean choral vocals which are juxtaposed with the fast blast beats, a bit like Goat Moon musically, which is interesting. So I really like the whole album here. It's just like traditional Norwegian black metal, but just with some additional elements to spice it up a bit. Probably my favorite tracks on this are Nattestid Part 2, or Track 2. That includes some dim synths and keyboards, so just in the background to lift the melody, so it's not drowning in keyboards, which is good. And there are also some clean guitars for additional atmosphere in Track 2. I also really like Track 3. There's a riff in Track 3 which resembles the fast and frantic one in the Darkthrone song Under a Funeral Moon. So, you know, that like it's that's probably like a tribute to Darkthrone, probably. And I love that song, by the way. And I also really like Part 7, the final song. That has a lot of clean guitar sections as well as choral vocals. So yes, for the majority of the time, it is traditional Norwegian black metal, but they have additional elements, you know, like, which are not the conventional ones for traditional old school black metal. So that makes it interesting. And yeah, there's just melody and variety. So I really like this album, and I'm happy to have picked it up. I used to have a tape of this through in the tape trading days, but I never considered buying it actually, but then I saw it in the shop and I thought you might as well grab it. It's a cheap price, and I'm very glad that I did. So just showing you the booklet here. So that's the main guy. I think there's 2 people on this album. Yeah, so performing all the vocals and instruments. Yep, and I actually saw this band live at Steelfest in 2022. Yeah, they were one of the last bands to play on the Sunday, I think, and I remember it was freezing cold outside. Like, at that time it was Finnish autumn because Steelfest is in Finland. It was Finnish autumn and it was very cold weather and there was mist rising, so completely appropriate for a band like TAAKE to be playing. And remember, because their name is Fog, that's what it means. And I'll just show you the disc, plain black. Anyway, yeah. So like nothing overly groundbreaking, but it is interesting and there's more than meets the eye. Like I can understand someone would look at this and think, oh, it's a Darkthrone clone band, but in actual fact not. There's a lot more to it, and it's a really good listen. And I think if you follow my Instagram, I said this the other day, this album's like an onion. It's like there's so many layers to peel off. There's so much sound in there, so many different sounds and so many different sections that you hear something different every time, or you know, you hear more details every time. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of any band. So yeah, I highly recommend this if you're a black metal fan. This is TAAKE with Nattestid. Okay, and that's it for today, guys. So 3 albums. I went on and on a bit. 3 albums in 20 minutes, but remember that included talking about the band background and so on. So I hope you don't mind that. But yes, I will be back again soon. What have I got planned for the next video? I do have more collection updates coming. Like there's another one of traditional heavy metal and some other ones I picked up. Yeah, so the new releases, the collection updates are coming in, but I might try and change it up once in a while with, you know, contest entries if there are any. And I was also going to do another episode of heavy metal vinyl. Let me know if you're interested in seeing that or not, and we'll see how it goes. But yes, I'll be back soon at any rate. So in the meantime, take care and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.